All right. There is a question right now trending seriously. Is marrying a sister or getting married to a brother right or wrong? I'm Rookie Raymond, the master of all generations. As usual, I'll answer this question in different ways. First of all, if you read the book of Leviticus, chapter 18, verse 9, and Leviticus chapter 20, it gives a description of how people should marry. All right. So when it is giving this description of how people should marry, it excludes marrying a sibling, whether half or full sibling. Like a sister is not supposed to be married, according to that book. All right. Now, when you read Genesis, it tells us the first people to be created were Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve were the first people to be created. So they got sons and daughters. However, they don't show the daughters in the book of Genesis, but they got sons and daughters. So how did humanity expand? How did humanity expand? In Genesis, after God creating Adam, got Eve for Adam, and they got daughters and sons. However, the Bible shows Abel, Cain, and Seth, but these people had daughters. So humanity expanded when they married one another. That's a fact. The sisters married or got married to brothers. That's how the whole thing of humanity expanded. From this little diving into the scripture, you're seeing how Leviticus is opposing Genesis openly. It's opposing Genesis because in Genesis, the siblings are marrying themselves. But in Leviticus, they are not allowed to marry between themselves because there has been expansion in humanity. So I believe marrying a sister is not a sin. Or getting married to a brother is not a sin. It's not. However, when there are very many people to marry in the world, very many women or very many men to marry in the world, why would you go for your brother or sister? Why would you go like that? Why would you contravene with what the society believes in? Why would you like to be different from the society? Why would you like to behave strangely in society? However, if you've found yourselves having married yourselves unknowingly, then you realize it later after marrying yourselves, you can still go with that marriage. You can still go with a sibling because it's not a sin and you cannot die. Nothing can happen because it has ever happened. Nothing can happen. So, because you cannot tell me, since Abraham married Sarah, who was a sister, shall not reach in heaven. I don't think it's like that. I don't think it's like that. Or since Abel married a sister, though the Genesis doesn't tell us directly that Abel married a sister or Cain married a sister, because Adam produced children, both sons and daughters, and the sons and daughters married themselves, and it's open, it's clear. The Genesis doesn't expound it clearly. It doesn't mean these people shall not reach in heaven. However, in the current society where people are very many, you can marry even from China, Russia, you marry from Uganda, you marry from anywhere. No need for you to marry your sister. But if it so happened that you married your sister unknowingly, it is still not a sin. It is still not a sin. It is not a sin at all. However, you will have broken the laws of societies, or the law of your society. Because even the Jews themselves, they could not marry. The Jews could not marry their siblings, but the Gentiles could marry their siblings. However, after some time, the Gentiles also did not marry their siblings, if you follow the Bible very well. After some time, the Gentiles also adopted to not marrying their sisters. You understand? So, if mistakenly you've married your sister, it's not a sin. You should not feel like, oh, well, you should die, what? But no need for you to marry your sister, because people are very many, honestly speaking. It sounds weird, but it's not a sin. You cannot die, or it's not something that can bring death or whatever it is. No, because the other people have done it and it has ever happened. That's what I can tell you. That's my submission. All right.